we need to talk. And we need to talk now about the best sport in the world and how it's turning into one of the most, not worst sports, I would say, but one of the most diabolical sports with the rules and the lack of rules there are actually, and everything in between. Let's get right into it. Welcome back to the 2-minute timeout where you take time out of your day to listen to this podcast, and I'm truly thankful for that. We're back. It's been about 3 months since we posted the last one. I mean, we're in the off season, so it makes sense. But I had to talk about this. This isn't just college football. This is college sports. The Brendan Sorsby case. I don't think this is only college sports. Yes, this is college sports. But this just shows the world that we're in, the society that we're in. And I don't want to bash what Sorsby went through because he did come out in public. I know that he came out in public after this came out. So, yes, he did seek help and stuff, but it wasn't until it was kind of pushed on him. We're going to talk about that and what I mean by that. But I don't want to bash the mental health side of things, but I think it is a little bullshit, if I can use that word, about just in the aspect of what he's talking about and where he's coming from. Because I think he used the mental health, an actual serious problem. And I'm not saying that if Sorsby wasn't allowed to play college football, that he wasn't going to go through a mental health thing. He was going through a mental health crisis with the gambling 60,000 plus times. But I think he did use a actual true mental tragedy that hundreds of thousands of people die each year and suffer from to benefit him to get a couple $1 million and play and try to help his NFL stock. Because he's getting $5 million to play in Lubbock, Texas for the Texas Tech Raiders. And there's consequences for this. I think some of the stuff that's going to happen because of this, I think it's deserved. But I also fear for his safety. Let's just get right into it. Let's just see where we're coming from. I got to take a drink before I get into this because this is a sensitive topic, but it's also a fiery one because college football, this is one of the biggest scandals in college sports history. And what the judge allowed to happen for Sorsby is so infamous that we've never seen before. Excuse me. Let's get into this right now. So, like I said, Sorsby, over 60,000 times he put bets. The biggest bets were on the team that he was on when he was a freshman, when he just started his college career, and that was at the Indiana Hoosiers. That was right after Michael Penix transferred out, so after their 2 years of success during the COVID year and the year after, they were stuck with Sorsby and a couple other guys, and that's when they fell back to irrelevancy before Cignetti. This was when they had Tom Allen. He wasn't even playing in these games, so it's not like he was really speculated of rigging them, but he was placing bets on his own team. Win or loss, it doesn't matter. If you're going to sell the game either to help, like if you bet on your team to win, you're still betting on your team, bro. You cannot do this. First off, you're illegally betting. Don't know the age standpoint if he was 18. I think he was 18 by the time, but still, everybody that has spoken out, every former athlete, not just college football player, not NFL players, athletes, say that this is the worst thing in the standpoint of rules, so not like murder or something, but this is the worst thing you can do as a sports athlete, as an athlete, especially a student athlete. Taking that outside of the realm, things like murder and prison time, gambling is the worst thing you can get in trouble for. And he got off the hook. We're going to talk about that. 2 days before Sorsby's ruling and judge and stuff, NCAA prohibited Sorsby from playing. But the NCAA is just 4 letters. Nothing more, nothing less right now, especially seeing what was made out after this court case that the NCAA has no control. I'm going to talk about that in my outcomes. Sorsby, this is where I'm talking about the mental health thing. I think he's using it to his advantage. Mental health and gambling go hand in hand, and this is a sensitive topic that I know a lot of people suffer from. But he claims he can't make the right decision about if he wants to enter the supplementary draft, which he would have to announce, I think, by this week, middle of June. But of course, he's going to stay now that he's allowed to stay. Or that he can't socialize with his teammates. Basically, he can't do normal things, can't make his own decisions for him without getting help from other people. So somebody elaborate how the fuck you're going to get hit by some big-ass 6'6", 300-pound lineman, but you can't make your own decision. You're risking your life. Yes, I know there's so many cautious procedures that you're not going to die from football, but you're still risking serious life injuries by playing football. You're allowed to play football, but you claim you can't do 2 + 2. You can't make your own decision. How are you going to succeed in life if you can't make your own decisions without help? But yet he can play football? Somebody tell me that. Because I haven't heard anybody talk about he can't make big boy decisions. He can't make decisions that a fucking third grader can make. Let's get on to the case. About this case, there's some background. This judge is not from Lubbock, so you can't say, oh, he's a Texas Tech alum. The first judge that was supposed to be on this, he was removed. He removed himself because he was seeing online pictures of wearing Texas Tech gear, pulling up the guns, the double guns. So he was a Texas Tech fan. The second judge is from Fort Worth, Texas, home of the TCU Frogs, in-state rival and in-conference rival. And then he graduated from Houston University, in-conference rival and in-state rival. So, let's just take, the judge didn't even do his job, didn't do the right thing for college football. But say he was a die-hard college fan for the town he grew up for, or more importantly, more likely, he was a big die-hard fan of Houston, a team that in week 3 plays one of their biggest games in school history, in my opinion, for football. They go to Texas Tech. Top 3 matchup on Texas Tech's schedule. Same with Houston. Could be a top 3 matchup in the Big 12 and how it shapes out. Assuming Texas Tech is what Texas Tech is supposed to be. And then Houston being not even a dark horse. They're expected to finish top 3, top 5 in the Big 12. This could shake things up in Lubbock week 3. We're going to talk about how Sorsby's first game magically is against Houston. So, say the judge is just a diehard college fan. He doesn't even care that one of the best college football quarterbacks is going to play against his team, likely win that game and hurt his team's chances to make the playoff. So he's A, not a fan of his college that much, and B, not doing his fucking job and not helping college football and the college sports collapse, man. This is literally college basketball from last year, where they had former G League players, former draft picks that didn't make it in the college world, in the professional world, come back to the college world, and they came in there and they played. And these were accepted, except for the one Alabama guy who was dominating everybody. So they took it up. He was playing on a limited type of games, I guess you can say, till he went to court in the hometown of Tuscaloosa, where the Alabama Crimson Tide are in this town. And the judge did the right thing and said, I'm not going to have this on my back. Looking at the future, if the people in the future look at the past and see how fucked up college sports are, it's not going to be on my shoulders. So he didn't allow the Alabama player to keep playing. You want to know what? This judge just ruined college sports. Basically, he's saying the worst of the worst that you can get away with in the college football landscape, in the college rules, you can get away with that. That means you can get away with anything is basically what the college sports are saying and basically what this judge is allowed to do. Like I said, the lawyer using the manipulative tactic of mental health, why Sorsby should play. So NCAA is going to appeal, but is not going to be in the right time frame, so it's going to be appealed in February. That means absolutely jack shit. It doesn't mean nothing. The appeal is way after everything, after the fucking season. So Sorsby is going to be able to play. And, but hey, guys, Sorsby is going to be suspended 2 games. Now, this is something that was brought up by Texas Tech University. So you're like, oh, great. There's a round of applause. Let's go. There's still hope in life. Let's see. Let's take a look, guys. Let's take a look. Who do they play their first 2 games? Albany Christian. Not even, unless you know actual college football, you probably even haven't heard of Albany Christian unless it was college basketball because there's no FCS level of college basketball. So Albany Christian at home, week 1. Oh, FCS school. Week 2 against Oregon State at home. Oregon State, the team that finished 11-1 last season, top 3, arguably one of the worst, or if not the worst, FBS school last year. That's who he doesn't have to play against. You can pick a fucking student like Mike Leach did for a kicking contest and put him out at quarterback, and they would beat those 2 goddamn teams. You have a $20+ million roster. Anybody can play with their non-dominant hand. Play on one leg and one arm and still beat those 2 teams 60-0. He got suspended against Jim and Jack. But he comes back week 3 with one of their biggest games at home against Houston, Big 12 opener. And like I said, probably a top 3 game in the Big 12 conference standpoint. Let's get on to the gambling part. I'm going to calm it back. I think gambling's a problem. I'm 15. I can't gamble. Has gambling piqued my interest a little bit? Maybe just on some of the die-hard games, the good games that I'm going to look at and that we're going to cover, because every week we're going to do pick-em games, and I think we're going to do over-unders and the money lines and stuff, but I think that's also a problem. People that pick games these days, they do money lines. It's all about gambling. Gambling's everywhere. If you have a commercial on a sports, at least one of those commercials during the timeout break is going to be gambling. Out of the advertising in the stadium, 1, 2, maybe even 3 billboards are going to be about gambling, different gambling sites. Gambling's publicized everywhere. I know they're not going to do this, but we need nationwide limits about how much money you can gamble, what you can bet on, how many times you can bet on, and the proof of actual age. I think those guidelines, yes, they're not going to stop athletes from gambling, but gambling's just gotten so bad. And from somebody, and here's the thing, all these sports people that talk about gambling, they're all like, yeah, gambling, we publicize it, but you got to do it responsibly. The world that we live in, nobody's responsible. So what's going on? People have looked inside people's brains, mental health about gambling and stuff. It's not working. The definition of insanity is doing something over and over, expecting a different outcome. We got to try something else. I don't know what it is. I know there's a college act going on in D.C. Maybe there needs to be a gambling act. People have talked about it. Just politicians don't really care about the sports world. They care about making money, keeping this country safe. Let's go on to Brandon Sorsby. We're going to talk about Sorsby. What he did was wrong. He should be punished for it. I don't think he should play. If he wants to gamble illegally, he's not allowed to. If he wants to be a big boy and do all that behind people's backs, then he should be playing with the big boys. He should be sent to the league where he gets hit like a big boy, has to act like a big boy. Use his fucking brain that I guess he can't do without his teammates' help, because once he leaves Texas Tech, he's not going to talk to 80% of those people anymore. I digress. It's whatever. In his defense, we're going to defend him. Yes, he did the right thing. He took the classes and stuff. But to backtrack that, he only did that when this whole scandal got called out. He didn't do this while he was in his gambling crisis at IU. He did this once he was basically forced to, probably by his lawyer. This is just alleged, but probably by his lawyer, so they could say, oh, he took the classes. He did the right thing. So maybe you should let him play. I digress. I am worried about the safety. I'm always worrying about the safeties of people. What if the towns, these are crazy college kids, they're going to know where these teams are staying. What if they manage to get into Sorsby's room? What's going to happen there? What happens pregame? What happens while he's on the sideline during the game? He's going to get berated. There's a difference between injury and then trolls. I think the trolling, it's going to happen. I think it's going to be funny. I think it's, hate to say it, deserved, because you let somebody who did the worst of the worst in the college sports world play. But there's going to be crazy people, like when you play maybe at Oregon State, their second game. I don't know if Sorsby's allowed to travel to that, so maybe he's not going to that. But at Baylor, I know Baylor's a religious school, so maybe not Baylor, but at Oklahoma State the week after. That's going to be interesting because that's supposed to be a top matchup between two teams that I think are going to play in the Big 12 championship, or at least finish top 5, top 3. I'm high on Oklahoma State this year. But that's going to be in Stillwater, Oklahoma, where the Rednecks are going to be out, and he could be seriously injured. And that's not what you want. But I hate to say it, that's the risk you're taking to get $5 million and try to up your draft stock. Overall, in the outcome, the NCAA, like I said, it's just 4 letters. They have no power. You can do whatever you want in the standpoint of rules of college football and get away with it. I brought up the act in Washington, D.C. that they're talking about. Saban was on it. Actually, Texas Tech, their big alum, he was there also talking about it. What does this do about it? I don't know. Probably nothing. But I could see where some radical people come in there and try to maybe manipulate this or just try to hopefully help the college football landscape. Like I said, this can turn into college basketball last year, where if there's people that can gamble doing the worst of the worst in the standpoint of college football rules and college rules, why can't you just go back to your hometown, go to Baton Rouge, go to Tuscaloosa, go to a judge that you know and is going to pay, like you paid this judge, because it was obvious that this judge got paid because he's not a Texas Tech alum. He's literally an alum from an in-state rival, so that means something would have happened, and the lawyer's outcome was only 4 pages, so that means something was suspiciously with the 2 brain cells that I have. I know what's going on. I think a lot of people know there was some bribery around this, but I don't know. And now teams are, Nebraska and Georgia have already came out and say they will not play Texas Tech in any regular season in any sporting events. Big Ten and SEC as a collective are also doing that. And then 12 Big 12 athletics directors today met, and they're talking about it. We don't know the outcome, but this could ruin realignment because now teams could break away from the Big 12 because of, hate to say it, one person. Not Sorsby, but I'm blaming this on the judge that was allowed to say yes because he was bribed. I'm not saying that it's confirmed that he was bribed, but that is just, I'll go to my grave saying that he was bribed. There's no way else, not out of the goodness of his heart. Like I said, graduated from Houston, an in-state rival of Texas Tech, not even a Texas Tech alum. Why would he just grant something that is illegal out of the goodness of his heart? I don't know. What I do know is that I'm on summer break. I'm going to be posting constantly. We're less than 100 days away. Look at this logic. Look at my logic here. Say you're a college football fan. We got 12 weeks left. Just, if your team did good, run back to 12 games every Saturday. Watch those regular season games. And then once you're done with that, once you're done with those 12 games per Saturday, one per Saturday, we're playing ball. Week 0 is 12 weeks away. There's some interesting week 0 games. I'm happy Virginia. I think it's going to be a sold-out game. Week 0, they moved it back to Charlottesville. They were going to play that in, wasn't it Brazil, I believe? But I think, I don't know. I didn't really read into it. I just know that it got moved back. I think because they were both playing for a couple hundreds of thousands of dollars for NIL. And I think that NIL, company, the team that was sponsoring it pulled out of their NIL. So Virginia's going to be hosting it. I believe it's a non-conference game. Last year, NC State and Virginia played. It was a non-conference game because NC State had to play Notre Dame because Notre Dame has to play a certain amount of teams from the ACC to be in the ACC for all their other sports. So I think they had to fit in Notre Dame in that NC State. So that's why down the road. So that's why Virginia and NC State is a non-conference game. I think there were 2 years. I know last year was a non-conference game. I think there was 2 years that this was happening. NC State and Virginia were both going to be home, one of those. Interesting to see what Virginia does because they have Bo Pribula, Missouri transfer, and then Eli Holstein, who was there at Pitt before he got taken over by Mason Heitschel. He was an Alabama transfer before going to Pitt and transferring to Virginia. We're going to talk about all those teams. Stay tuned. Summer break. We're getting out. Week 0 is going to be great. Hawaii, Stanford. Hey, I'm just saying I haven't looked at all the G5 schools' schedules. I think Hawaii and UNLV, they play week 2 or 3, I saw, in Hawaii. That could be a early college football match. Remember when UNLV and Boise State played 2 years ago, not in the championship. They played a few weeks before the championship. And UNLV blew a late lead, and then that game didn't really matter because it was actually the Mountain West Championship that Boise State won. They went 2-0, and that's how they got in. But I think it could be the same thing that UNLV is in. I think they're going to beat Jackson Arnold starting that game. They got a couple of tough games, non-conference games. So does Hawaii. Stanford plays Hawaii at home week 0, and then they come back that Friday and play against Miami. There's not many good Friday or Thursday games this season again. I remember last season there weren't many good Friday or Thursday games because I just like watching some underrated maybe ACC Thursday games or Friday night games. I know week 2, Missouri, Kansas on Fox. Fox has got some good Friday games now. They're starting to take over ESPN for the Friday night games. They got Kansas hosting Missouri, a rivalry game. Both teams will be 1-0 because they both, I think, play FCS schools. So that'll be interesting to see what Kansas in that atmosphere. That's the second year of their new stadium. And then the week after that, that's when Houston and Texas Tech play. Just ranting on about some games that I saw. So many good non-conference games that the SEC and ACC are playing in week 2 and week 3. Week 1, not the best, but I digress. I think week 0's got some good games, like I'm trying to say. Jackson State goes on the road to North Dakota State. North Dakota State's first ever FBS game. And then, of course, Bill Belichick. They kick off overseas in Dublin against TCU. We'll see what the Harvard transfer does for TCU. Can he use his brain? I don't know. Catch you on the next one. Thank you.